and welcome back to our third lesson in complex numbers, paper number 1. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at the Argand diagram, and you're going to find this over on page 176 in your notes. That's going to look like this. So if you jump over as far as here, let's take a look. Well, to start off in this case here, an Argand diagram is how we plot complex numbers. And the horizontal axis, or the x-axis, is our real axis. And the vertical axis, the y-axis, is our imaginary axis. Now, what we know in this case ourselves, and this is nice and simple and straightforward, but it is frequently asked, is, first of all here, a complex number is made up of two parts. So, for example, I could have something like 3 plus 2i, or I could have minus 4 minus 1i. They're two different complex numbers. Now, I'm going to call these complex numbers u and w. They're my complex numbers. We can see there that a complex number is made up of two parts. We have our real, that's the part without the I, and we have our imaginary part as well. That's the part with the I attached on. You're going to notice with your Argand diagram, which is very like your Cartesian plane, is that it will be labeled, even in your exam, real and imaginary. Your x-axis or your horizontal line is your real, and you'll see that your vertical axis, or oftentimes we refer to it as y, is our imaginary axis. So it's pretty much the exact same as we see when we look at coordinate geometry. And we've been looking at that since we were in first year. So how are we going to work this? Well, let's take u. U, in this case, is 3 on the real and 2 on the imaginary. So, and you don't have to place these lines in, but for the first examples, I'm going to place them in. I'm going to go to my real axis. Here's my real axis and here's 3. And I'm going to draw a line. Now, technically speaking, I could draw that line the whole way down here. However, I have a fair idea where this is going to be positioned. You might not yet. So at 3, I'm going to draw my line. Again, that would be all down here as well. So 3 on the real. Let's go to 2 on my imaginary. Here's my imaginary axis, and positive 2 is here. So here's 2 on my imaginary. Again, 2 on the imaginary is everywhere over here, but what we'll see is these 2 points meet here. So I'm going to place my point here, and that is the coordinate u. U in this case, as you'll see, is 3 plus 2i. 3 on the real, 2 on the imaginary. Let's take my second example here. A little bit different because a lot of negative numbers. We have minus 4 on my real and minus 1 on my imaginary. So let's start with my real. Let's go to minus 4 on the real. That's everywhere here. Again, it's the whole way along, but I have a fair idea that I'm going to be working down here. And let's go as far as minus 1 on my imaginary. Here's my imaginary, here's minus 1. So everything along here is my imaginary. So again, we check where them 2 points meet, or them 2 lines meet. And that there, this point, is the coordinate w. And w is minus 4 minus 1i. Now, a little reminder that you do not leave them lines there. Them lines are just for the purposes of the question that we're looking at. Now, let's take a look at one of the examples in your notes. These tend to be very, very similar as to the Leave Insert exam. I want you to pop as far as page 178. On page 178, you're going to see exercise 3.2. Exercise 3.2, what does it ask? It says, represent the following points on the Argand diagram. We have Z1. Z1 is 2 plus 3i. What that is to me is 2 on my real and 3 on my imaginary. They also asked me to plot Z2, minus 4 minus 3i. Minus 4 on my real and minus 3 on my imaginary. So let's get started. Now, in this case, I'm not going to position in them lines. You don't need to in a question. However, if you'd like to, obviously do. So starting off with Z1. Z1 is 2 on my real. 2 on my real is positioned here. And 3 on my imaginary is here. So again, join the dots. This coordinate here will be Z1. Make sure to label, but you don't have to label with a number like I'm going to here, just Z1 will do, 2 plus 3i. Z2 is next. Z2 is minus 4 minus 3i. Here's my real axis, so minus 4 on my real is here, and minus 3 on my imaginary axis is here. So let's join them all. So that is approximately there, and that there is Z2. Z2 is minus 4 minus 3i. Now guys, that's a very, very simple look at my Argand diagram, but it is something that's frequently asked in the Leave and Cert exam, and oftentimes if students are doing quite poorly on a particular question, what you're going to find is the examiner will kind of front load the marks in complex numbers to this question that is here. Just be mindful of the fact the examiner will tell you which is the real and imaginary, or they always have. They'll also make sure they place the numbers in for you, so you don't actually have to write them in yourself. So if maybe you had to add something or subtract before two complex numbers and it didn't fit, have a little look back. It's kind of a hint to you. Guys, that is the end of our Argand diagram lesson. Nice and simple, nice and straightforward, but sometimes carries quite a significant number of marks.